me know if you can start.
Yep, I started recording.
Awesome. Awesome. So one more time, welcome everybody. We're going to be speaking about game development industry. I'll have an expert Daniel with me tonight. And let us know in the chat where you're joining from. If you want to grab a cup of tea or coffee, you got 1 more minute to do so. And thank you for being with us. We're going to spend the next hour together learning about this industry and game development and what it is about. But before we jump in, I do want to share with you a few slides about our school. If you just join us, let me know in the chat. And so I will let you know how we can help you to get started. Daniel, if you could do the slide. Okay, so this is just about our school. A few words. We're Black Screen AI School, and this is an IT project from Silicon Valley programming. And originally, we got started in 2016, and it was the program for those who didn't even speak English. And because we had so much success, we were able to help 3,500 graduates to help them to find a job and become successful in the industry. So we decided to open this program for English speaking students. And so we started the project called Black Screen AI. If you would like to learn more about us, you're more than welcome to check our YouTube channel, and you'll be able to learn more. But since 2016, we were able to help over 25,000 students from all over the world to get into IT industry. We have different career projects. You know, we got DevOps engineer, machine learning engineer. We actually did the meeting right before that. But tonight we're going to be learning about gaming industry, and so we're very excited that we could help our students to achieve their dream career. And on the next slide, Daniel, can you help me out? On the next slide, I want to just show you happy faces of our students who already became successful. And those are all graduates. They live in different parts of the world. And we started from meetups, but then we opened it for online audience, especially after COVID. And so thank you. Thank you, everyone who's still joining us. Stay with us till the end. We have something special prepared for our future students. And on the next slide, I just want to show you the picture with our reviews of our graduates. If you would go to our YouTube channel, you can take a time and to learn how they didn't even have IT background and how step by step we help them to build foundation and achieve successful career in IT field. And if you would be talking about the companies where our students are on the next slide, I want to show you that you can name any company. Our students are working there, and with IT industry blooming, there is more and more opportunities on the market, and it's never been a better time to seize this opportunity and be prepared to learn more and take advantage of the market and demand which is on the market right now. And I love saying that success is when preparation meets opportunity. There are a lot of opportunities, and in order for you to be successful, you have to be prepared. And our goal tonight to learn the gaming industry and help you to be prepared for all those opportunities out there. And on the next slide, I think I would like to introduce you our schedule for this week. So we're going to be starting at 9 p.m. Eastern Time or 6 p.m. Pacific Time. February 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. You can join us pretty much every evening this week and learn every night something new about gaming industry, so you could make a quality decision and understand, is this somewhere you would like to go in is a perfect industry for you to get in. And that's why we want you to make a quality decision and just give you an overview of what's happening on the market. And that's why I have Daniel, who is an expert. He works in the industry with me tonight. And from here, I just want to let you, Daniel, take over and share with us what's happening in the industry. How did they get in the industry? And he's a Unity developer with over 8 years of experience. And I want to let you know that those people who become our students, they will get a chance to learn from our experts, but not just theory. All our instructors are working in the industry, so they will be able to share practical knowledge. And I love interactive way of learning because that helps you not just to get the job in the industry, but to keep this job, which is important. Who's agreeing with me? Put a plus in the chat and let's welcome Daniel. Thank you for being with us and let's learn together.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Julia. Hi, everyone. My name is Daniel Sproul. It's a pleasure to meet you all. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I do have the chat open, so I can periodically peek back and maybe respond to them. Welcome to game development. This is an important first step to starting your game development journey. I'm going to tell you a lot about my journey through game development. Everyone has a different path. But I think that mine might be a little similar to a lot of yours because I didn't go to school for game development and I ended up in this path through pure passion. And I hope that you all are passionate. And that would lead you to a similar path as me. So I'll guide you through my path and then we'll talk a bit more. Sorry, there's a bit of an echo, Julia. I think that might, maybe if you mute.
Yeah, let me mute myself and
Okay,
see if it's better.
perfect. Yeah. Okay, I don't hear an echo. So like I was saying, I'll guide you all through my path and then we'll talk a little bit more about Unity development in particular. And then yeah, that'll probably be our time. So here's my quick journey through gaming. So if you look to the top left, you'll see Rollerball. Rollerball is the first Unity game that everyone learns how to do. And I mentioned that I didn't go to school for Unity development. So how did I get started? I went to Princeton University and got my degree in electrical engineering. And I was really interested in building circuits and putting together complex creations and whatnot. But the moment I graduated, I actually realized that this is not at all the industry I was interested in. If you look to the bottom left, you'll see my first real project, which is a game called Pyramid Run. Now, I don't know if you guys are huge gamers or huge retro gamers, but there's this funky little arcade machine called Q*bert, and you take this little monster and you like dodge all these animals that are trying to attack you. And I basically made a mobile game themed after that. And you can you can tell just looking at it, it looks very much like a student project. But I think everyone starts somewhere, you follow tutorials, you take a class, and then you learn, you grow, and on to my second project. So I made Pyramid Run during my senior year of college, and I realized that this was so much more fun than the electrical engineering work that I had to do to graduate. And so after I graduated and got my degree, I decided that maybe I'd put off working, like getting a real job, and I would try to build something on my own. So that's when I came up with the idea for Hydro Flash. And Hydro Flash was an educational shooter game. And so the idea was that Fortnite, Minecraft, Roblox had all blown up in popularity. Oh, I see someone in the chat knows Q*bert, which thank you. It's fantastic. Yeah, but so all these different games children were playing, and they didn't really have any educational content. So I thought, what if I could take the mechanics of a shooter game and then inject a little bit of education into it and combine the two? Ultimately, this was a huge undertaking, a lot larger than I estimated it to be. This was an online live game where there were AIs populated. If if there weren't people to matchmake with, and it was really difficult, but really fun and really rewarding. Uh, however, actually, I'll stay here for a bit. However, like I spent a year building this game, and then I realized that okay, this is far too large. Like Fortnite has what, hundreds, thousands of people working on it, and I was one guy trying to compete with my own thing. So I thought, okay, a better option would be to maybe take my experiences, polish them up into a portfolio, and then apply to get a real job. And I did. And I got a real job at Topps Digital. And Topps, you might be familiar with them because they made baseball cards. Uh, yeah, they're the baseball card company, and they made digital trading card apps. So I got to work with Marvel intellectual property, Disney intellectual property, and it was really cool. And that was my first role as a real Unity developer. And I do want to stress the only way that I got that position was because I had my portfolio of Hydro Flash, this really impressive game, I will say, that I did entirely on my own, and Pyramid Run, which was another game that I just built on my own, which I will say, Pyramid Run, maybe it's not the most impressive looking. Let's take another glance at it. It's not the most impressive looking thing, but it served its purpose of teaching me the tools to move on in the industry. After Tops, I left Tops after about 2 years or so and joined Nerd Ninjas. And Nerd Ninjas has been incredible. You've probably never heard of us, but we do a little bit of contracting for a lot of really big companies. And so we contracted for Niantic. We've contracted for some other people. And so I actually ended up working on Pokemon Go. And that was a huge experience. I was on the Pokemon Go team for 2 years or so. And then I transitioned into the project I'm now working on, which is Rogue Pinata's VR Mageddon. And it's a virtual reality game where you smash a bunch of pinatas with all these various weapons. And it's also a roguelike. It's just a really fun uh, project. It's a really fun game. I see in the chat someone asked if that game was 1v1. It was actually a 4v4 game. So there were 8 players all battling, and it was actually really fun because one of the most rewarding things about the gaming industry is that you can create these experiences and then play them yourself. And so I would have bots attacking me while I was like running around, and I would lose to the bots, and then I'd be like, wow, I told them what to do and they still beat me. Let's see, in the chat, is it still up? Yeah, okay, so technically the game is still up, but unfortunately the servers for said game are a tad defunct. I need to migrate it to a new server. So unfortunately, like the website is still up. You can check it out if you go to poplearn.co, but the actual game is unfortunately not playable. I need to migrate the server to another one, and then it's perfectly functional. And I stand by the fact that this is a good game. So moving on. Yeah, so this is just a visual of what Topps Digital is. It was a trading card game. Honestly, am really thankful to Topps because they sort of took a chance on me as a junior level engineer, and I got a lot of really great experience. I actually, during my interview with Topps, they asked for snippets of my code, and I sent them my code, and then like 3 hours later, I was just like thinking to myself, and I was like, no, my code's not great. My code's not great. And so I rewrote it to be a lot more structured and precise and well commented. And then I sent that piece to them. And actually, after I was hired, one of the engineers told me that that move really convinced them that I was serious about learning and growing, and that I at least knew what good code was supposed to look like, even if I didn't always write it. And so I'm super thankful for Tops. And Nerd Ninjas, when I was first hired onto Nerd Ninjas, I mentioned that we had a partnership with Niantic. Our first major game was Catan World Explorers. I'm sure some of you have maybe played Settlers of Catan. It's only like the most popular game. It might be, it's at least top 5 selling board games of all time. But the idea was that this was similar to Pokemon Go, but it's more strategic. You travel the world and you're like a part of a faction building villages. Are they called villages? What are houses called in Catan? Well, you build roads, you build houses, and you build cities, and you're working together with a bunch of people from around the world to sort of conquer the world in various places. And it was a really fun project. Unfortunately, like a lot of games in the game industry, it was shut down before I think it reached its peak. Niantic sort of realized that this isn't where what we want to be investing in right now, and so then I was moved to another project, Pokemon Go, which again, Pokemon Go has been blooming since 2016. If you look at the top 10 grossing games of the past 10 years, Pokemon Go is probably in the top 10 every year, I think. It's held on surprisingly strong, and when I got to work on it, I could see why. Like there's so much innovation going on. There's a lot of really cool features, and the fan base is intense. The fan base is definitely intense. But yeah, oh, similar, Asia, I just love Pokemon. And so this was just a dream project. Actually, so my company is called Nerd Ninjas. You might notice the ninja over here. And so when we worked on Pokemon Go, they loved us so much that they actually gave us little Greninjas. Greninja's a Pokemon, but he's like a ninja Pokemon. So I have this guy
Yeah,
watching over all my code.
yeah. I'm more of a Greninja. He's uh, I forgot the name. Forgot what generation he's from. Sorry for the interruption. I'll just be quiet then.
Yeah, I forget the region name as well. Kalos?
Chaos, yeah. That was it.
Yeah, there we go. Next, I actually worked on NBA All World. Unfortunately, this is another project that I think was canned a little before it really got to reach its fruition. But it was Pokemon Go, but with basketball players. You might be sensing a theme. And this was a partnership with the NBA, and it was just another really cool project where I got to step outside of my comfort zone, learn how to build a new type of game, and all of these were mobile games. And so I think it was I say all of this and I show all of this to show you my journey, starting from these two little projects I made, and they were passion projects, and I wasn't making money for a year. I was strictly working on these projects because I wanted to work in games so much fun. I wanted to work in games so much that I was willing to just, uh, take time to start as a junior dev, and then luckily Tops gave me a chance. And then Nerd Ninjas is the place where I currently work, and I love them. I love my job. I love what I do, and I don't plan on leaving anytime soon. And this is the current game, my pride and joy, Rogue Pinata's VR Mageddon. It's a mouthful. You might want to copy and paste the name because VR Mageddon is a hard word to spell. But the idea of this game is that we wanted to bring, if I'm not sure how many gamers are in the crowd, but there's this game called Vampire Survivors where there's just a ton of enemies on stage, and we
I
wanted
have played it.
there we go. We wanted to bring that to the VR space. And so we wanted tons of pinatas in your face. We wanted tons of silly, wacky weapons and combinations and things. And I think we really achieved it. We will be launching later in February. So, really excited for this launch. And you can look it up if you want to check it out. So a little bit more about me, maybe outside of work. So I live in New York City and I perform improv comedy. It's just a little fun fact about me. I've always been into comedy, and on Wednesday nights at the Magnet Theater, you can find me making things up on stage, and it's a really fun time. And yeah, I it you might hear a little bit of it coming out in my personality, but I think that it's important to both work your left side of your brain and your right side of your brain. So, I've got the really technical coding side, but then I get to just make jokes and be fun. And then all of that weaves itself together in the work that I do day to day. And that's what keeps me sane. Okay, and a little bit more about me. I'm loving Marvel Rivals. It's a good time. I love video games. I love the experience of games, and this take this with a grain of salt because I'm an optimist. But I feel like the video game industry is so far from its peak. Like it is only on the up and up. I think that if you take other forms of entertainment like books, TV, movies, like there's a time where they sort of entered into the mainstream media and everyone was doing it. And then people realized, whoa, we can really make money off of this. And so Hollywood happened. But I feel like video games is kind of still on the upward trend. Like, not everyone plays video games, not everyone in the population, but I feel like numbers are only increasing. I see we've got an Iron Man main. Unfortunately, I might get some hate for the I'm a Penny Parker main, and she's great, she's lovely, and I have a good time. So
For me, it's just I never miss. Basically, Hawkeye.
yeah, shifting gears a little bit,
Okay.
we're gonna refocus our mind back to Unity. So why Unity? If you're thinking about game engines, so a game engine is sort of like if you're making a book, maybe you use Microsoft Word, maybe you use Google Docs. That's the equivalent of what a game engine is for a game. It's the technology that you use to produce the game. So you've probably heard of Unreal, Unity, maybe Godot. Unity is the most beginner friendly, it's the most accessible, and it makes pretty good games. Like maybe you've heard of Cuphead, maybe you've heard of Among Us, but Unity is the easiest to get started up with, and you can make really quality games. I think Unity sometimes gets a bit of a bad rep because it's so accessible. So a lot of people who aren't ridiculously experienced will slap something together, put it on an app store, and then people will see that and they'll see the Unity logo and they'll think, "Oh, Unity's only for making bad games." But I feel I you gotta trust me, Unity is uh, the one to go to if you're making games. I think Unreal has, oh my gosh, so much potential. It's so good. You'll see a lot of top tier games like Dragon Ball Z games are made in Unreal, like a lot of sports games are, but it's very like we've got a large team, we've got artists working here, we've got this. There, Unity is built for the solo developer. It's built for the small team, it's built for the agile team, and it's a great game engine. What can I say? Unity doesn't pay me to say that, by the way. Okay. Oh, another picture of me. But so we're going to talk a lot about the fundamentals of Unity, about writing clean code, making code efficient. And I think that in order to get a job doing Unity, there's obviously going to be the question of how much coding do I need to know? I don't have any experience and whatnot. And there's a fair amount of coding, but I think coding is only a part of the picture, and it's a skill that can be learned. Like there are a million coding boot camps out there, and somehow everyone graduates knowing how to code. Um, with Unity, there aren't as many places to learn Unity because it's a more specialized way of learning to code. Unfortunately, like the harsh reality is that like if you want to learn to code, you can learn to code, you learn a language, and then that you can be a software engineer somewhere. I I don't find that to be the most uh enjoyable career path, so I prefer the specialization that comes with Unity. And I'm probably going to repeat this 10 more times before this webinar is through, but polish is key. If you end up not taking the course and you just have something that you remember eventually on your journey to becoming a Unity engineer, please remember polish. If I as someone who's on the other side of game development now, I interview a lot of people. I look at a lot of resumes, I look at a lot of websites and portfolios, and polish is key. If I look at something and if it looks like my Pyramid Run game, then I think, oh, okay, this is someone who just learned Unity. Unfortunately, my company's not looking for someone who just learned Unity. We're not looking to teach someone everything. But if you have like Hydro Flash looked more this is okay, this is not, I did not take this screenshot, and I think there are a lot more beautiful screenshots of Hydro Flash that we could have used for this slide, because Hydro Flash not from this angle actually looked pretty decent. And I think that the key is presentation and showing that you're able to create games at a level of quality that you'll be expected to perform at. I'm not saying you have to know everything. In fact, no one hiring someone who only has a portfolio of games is expecting you to perform at the level of a senior engineer like me, someone who's been in the industry for a while. They're expecting you to come in hungry, willing to learn, and they look at your polish and they say, okay, so this person is capable of doing really neat things. All we need to do is harness their talent. What slide was that? Okay, here. Yeah. This is the second time I'm mentioning polish, because it's a core principle of the Black Screen School. It's going to be a core principle of the class that I teach, and we're going to be developing a game that really, like, you're going to learn how to make games. You're going to learn how to code. You're going to learn all of those fundamentals. But with those fundamentals, oftentimes I see Unity developers just create something fun. And I obviously you're going to have fun. It's games. You know, games are fun. But please, please, please to go the extra mile to make it look really pretty. I'm always surprised when I see someone spend like months upon months on a game, and you do 90% of the work for the game, and then the last 10% is just making it pretty. It's putting a bow on the gift. It's tying, putting it in a little box, wrapping it up, and making it look nice so that it's presentable to users. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about like the day-to-day challenges that you'll have in Unity development. I will say there's debugging, you know. It's not great. It's not fun. Searching through mountains of code to find what you did wrong and why something works the way you did, the way you didn't expect. It's terrible. I do not recommend it. But unfortunately, it's inevitable. You know, it's something that you have to do. It's a part of the experience, and I wouldn't trade it away. You know, it's one of those things that, like, in order to paint a masterpiece, you have to like mix paint. You know, you have to do all the grunt work in order to reach the really fun cool spots. And yeah, just another point that Black Screen does a really cool thing where it takes you from zero experience, like there's no expectation that you have coding experience. If you have coding experience, that's fantastic, and we're going to hone that. But there's no expectation about that. But then we push you all the way to and through the job offer, which is great. Oh yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Rogue Pinatas. So that's the game I'm currently working on. And you might not be the most familiar with the Oculus headset, but the Oculus headset is like the biggest way most people experience VR. And it runs not like a powerful computer, not like a PlayStation 5. Like, the beautiful thing about modern gaming is you have so much real estate, because modern game consoles are powerful. They're behemoths. Cell phones are getting so powerful as well. But the Oculus Quest is not that. And so it's been a huge process to take, like, we've got explosions happening, pinatas everywhere, and we've just done the grueling process of going like so you do what's known as profiling the game, where you run the game and you've got a little screen open up, and the screen tells you, okay, these are the chunks of code that you're running through, and here's how long each thing is taking. So it tells you how many milliseconds, things that are getting hung up, and you'll say, oh, that piece of code I wrote right here is taking much longer than everything else. So I've got to dig through it, rewrite it, change things, and you pull out your hair. I've got a beautiful head of hair, but some of it might be missing from all of the moments of trying to get the frame rate up to a clear, consistent 72 frames per second, which me and my team did achieve, but whew, was it a journey getting there. Okay, there's a little bit more about this. Oh yeah, we're working on like a small team of maybe 5 devs or so. And so I've actually this has been the first time that I've been able to meaningfully contribute to a game. Like my ideas are actually guiding a lot of portions of the game, which is really cool. And I think that's sort of what a lot of us engineers strive toward, or game developers strive towards. Like I want to make games because I want to create and design all these cool things. The A little bit of the harsh reality is that it is a job, and there are people whose jobs it is to set the tone and set the path and the design for the game and all of these different things. And so usually you're told, here's what we want to occur in the game. Go make that happen, you know? But with this, I think the more experience you get, the more you prove yourself, you eventually get to the point where they ask you questions. Hey, I want this enemy to do this. What do you think? And so one of the proudest things I did on this project, you'll actually see a boss in the background, the little cat with its many legs. It's our Octocat. Excuse me. I made it so that any boss in the game, you can destroy its limbs and it changes the behavior of the boss. So maybe there's a boss that we have this plant boss that has a satellite dish on its head and it shoots you from the satellite dish. But if you destroy its dish, then all it can do is spawn enemies via its little pods. And it's little things like that where I get to be creative and say, what if we do this instead? That really keep me going day to day. Another little fun fact about me, I love board games. If I turned off my background, you would see my living room just filled to the brim with board games. I have over 150 games, and it's just a hobby I love, and it you can tell that when you're a gamer, it comes through in many facets of your life. I'm also a runner. Yeah, I do love D&D as well. It's so hard to meet consistently, but every time that I get my group together, it's a really good time. I'm a runner now too because I wanted to run the NYC Marathon, and so I'm going to do it this year. And so in New York, that's or not New York. In this November, I'm going to run the NYC Marathon. Thank you. I also love Broadway. Fantastic. I go check out every show I get a chance to see. My recent favorite has probably been Hadestown. I've seen it twice. It's beautiful. It's fun. It's a good time. Uh, and I love playing video games. I love cooking. Overcooked. Overcooked's a really cute, fun game. Let's move on to a little bit more about the game dev course. So, in the game dev course, we're going to teach you how to make games from scratch. We're going to prepare you for the job interview and help you build that portfolio. So it's sort of a three-pronged approach. You're going to learn C Sharp, which is the language that Unity is run on, and you're going to learn how to code in Unity. And then another portion of the class is going to be just preparing you for the job interview, addressing questions that will come up, addressing like these are like with Unity, there's a couple of really key things that they're going to hit in nearly every job interview. So just knowing those things, there will also every job Unity job interview is still a coding job interview. So there's a little bit of that sneaks in, but it's primarily game development. And so yeah, we're gonna help you build your portfolio and help you get that first job after the course. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit more about interview tips. I mentioned I'd say polish your portfolio 5 times. Well, this is number 3. Polish portfolio. I have seen so many fantastic speakers, so many fantastic resumes that when we click on the portfolio, we think, oh, where did all of that go? This doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't, and then you lose that momentum. Maybe you don't get an interview, but just boom, I'm telling you, a portfolio will get you where you need and want to go. The second thing I'd say is passion. You can't fake passion or you can't fake passion easily. You know, like if you want to be a game developer, you recognize that yeah, I really want to make games because I like bringing new experiences to people. I think it'll be really fun. I love video games and I just wanted to be a part of it, you know? Like I think that game development isn't the easiest thing to do in the world. It's not the fastest like get rich quick scheme. So I think passion has to really drive you after a certain point, and it's really rewarding. I find game development really rewarding, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So we're gonna shift. This is just a quick foray into the types of Unity questions that you'll be asked. You're not expected to know what this means yet, but these are the kinds of things that you'll learn. So you'll learn design patterns in Unity. So design patterns are basically how you structure your code. So an example I love to use is think about animals. Think about like if you're trying to make a game and code how animals work. You could write a script and say, this is how dogs work. You could write a script and say, this is how bears work. You could write a script and say, this is how birds work. But it's better to group things together to say, this is what all animals share. Like all animals have to have some way to move, have to have some way to eat, have to have some way to use energy. And then once you've written the animal class, then you divide it into maybe four-legged animals, and then bear, and then dog. And so the way that you structure your code matters immensely. Like the story I mentioned earlier about my job interview with Tops, where I showed them my code, I cleaned it up, and then they were very impressed by what it ended up looking like. And so there's a couple of patterns, like the singleton pattern. That MVC is also really great, and we don't need to talk too much about those because we'll talk about them in the class, but they're just things to roll around in the back of your mind. Maybe if you have some free time in the coming weeks, you like Google them, look around. Um, this question happens in some form in every Unity interview. Oh no, my game's frame rate is dropping. What do I do? How do I find out that my game's frame rate? How do I fix it? And what they're really trying to do is weed out people who just make. I'm gonna make a game. I'm gonna type code, and then I'm gonna submit it. They want to find people who make good code. And the way you make good code is with the Unity profiler. It's that little thing I was talking about that tells you your code takes this long during this frame, this long during this frame. This piece of code is super inefficient. And then you look at it and then you dive in. And honestly, it's the easiest interview question because it's just one answer. They're just asking if you know how to use a feature built into the program. It's it's insane, but it happens. And then, of course, you'll get your standard coding interview questions like performance, optimization. Like, okay, I don't think, in my experience, because when I was getting my first Unity job, I did interview a lot with a lot of different companies, and I didn't really run into too many that grilled me as hard as like coding interviews that I'd done in the past, where they're asking you like, okay, so we're going to use this algorithm and what's the time complexity of it. But they do want you to know at least how to make good code. You know, they're not going to drill you as hard and make you get on the whiteboard and like do some pseudocode. Usually it's more conceptual, and they just want to hone in on the fact that you do know these things. You might be asked to do like a small project that demonstrates your code. They'll probably ask to see some of your code, but that's, kind of run of the mill. And then culture fit. Like this is every interview. This is every interview, every place. They're just going to make sure that you're a good fit. And my advice to you is be confident in what you know. Hopefully, this course will give you such a strong foundation that you just have that innate confidence in your own skills, which you should have because you can do it. If you've already built a game, you already know what to expect. And my maybe one of my biggest pieces of advice is that making games isn't that hard. I think we look at something in the world, like Baldur's Gate 3, and you think, oh my gosh, there's so many things going on. This must be so complex. But actually, like when you break it down to the simple mechanics and you go step by step, it's not crazy, terribly hard or weird to do. I see there's some messages I didn't look. Oh, yes, yes, yes. D&D's fantastic. And yeah, it's always a good time. Yeah, and so over the course of the course, you'll get all these answers. You'll learn how to address the interview. And remember, that's just one portion. It's not like we're going to spend the whole time going over interview questions. No, you're going to learn Unity, you're going to learn to code, and then you'll also get a little bit of that interview preparation so that you will feel fully prepared when you eventually go to get that job. Oh, I think this the course is what is game development? How does it work? And it's going to be a beginner's guide from Square Zero all the way up to creating your own physical project. And so now we're going to talk about gaming in general. I mentioned how I'm such an optimist about gaming. That's because of these stats. So the global gaming market is 272 billion in 2024, and it's growing at a compounded annual growth rate of 9.3%, which is insane. Like it'll nearly double by 2029. That's an insane thing to think about. There's going to be so many openings for jobs. There's going to be so much like potential for change in the industry. Like sometimes I hear people say, like some of my friends will say, "Oh, there's no new ideas in gaming. They're just doing the same things over and over again." But there's so many realms of possibilities. VR, we've barely scratched the surface with what virtual reality can be, and there's so much. And I know I'm just gonna small caveat, there's always a growing fear of AI and how, oh, is artificial intelligence going to replace game development, blah, blah, blah. But actually, a lot of us game developers just use AI in conjunction with our work. It's the, we joke that the one reason why we know game developers aren't ever going to be replaced by AI is because it would require the game designers, the producers to make clear expectations. And that's never going to happen. They're always going to say, oh, I want a feature that could maybe do this. And then you'll build it out. And then they'll say, wait, that was not what I meant. What if we do this? And then you'll build it out. And so on and so forth. And the market is only growing. So you picked a good time to become a game developer. Popularity, yeah, look at these numbers. The global player count reached 3.4 billion, and it's growing 4.5% each year, which is crazy. Like mobile devices, like sure, gaming, we commonly think of like holding a controller and playing on a television and whatnot, but the mobile industry has blown up. Pokemon Go, Monopoly Go, other games ending in Go have just been huge, and everyone's playing them, you know? On your commute to work, on the train, all these things. And then like I mean just look at the way like that's the biggest industry is mobile devices. And then PC gamers are growing, consoles are even growing, and consoles have been around for ages. Maybe what 50 years? Am I overestimating with 50 years? Maybe it's 40, 30, whatever. Regardless, it's still insane the level of growth that the game industry is still receiving. And while players are like predominantly concentrated, I think they're all over the world. You know, every industry is growing, and every industry around the world globally is growing, and it's fantastic to see that so many games are being played in so many regions. So many games are being translated. And it's just honestly, it's a really beautiful human thing. Revenue by segment. Yeah, obviously, I think I mentioned this before that mobile games are crushing it. Like, it's because mobile games are so sticky. You know, everyone has their cell phone with them. Very few people carry their PlayStation 5 around, which, you know, maybe that leads to mobile games being pretty dominant. PC has crazy revenue growth. I don't know if there's any PC gamers here, but the moment that Steam has a sale, it's like my wallet flies out of my hand and $100 are gone, and I have like 13 new games to play. And console games got a slight revenue decrease because let's think about it. When was the last time a new console came out? There's a lot happening in 2025 is actually a huge year for gaming. We're getting the Switch 2. There's going to be a crazy amount of games. So I would bet I'd bet my hat that this number goes right back up with uh, a new Nintendo release. Yeah, so and then I mentioned this earlier that like VR has just blown up recently. GTA 6. Hey, wishful thinking. Wishful thinking. You know what? We'll throw Half-Life 3 on that as well.
And then it's even going past the hypothetical ones. There's going to be Monster Hunter Wilds.
Yeah, no, there's just a ton. It feels like every year is just a great year for gaming. And then virtual reality is blowing up. Esports is becoming so modern and so like mainstream. It's so interesting. And esports, I mentioned the upward trajectory of gaming. Esports, the upward trajectory of esports. It feels like every game has a competitive scene, has a speedrunning scene. Mobile gaming is just blowing up because like phones are becoming an ever-present part of our everyday lives. I think, I've said this many a times, but it's a beautiful time to become a game engineer and a game developer. And the cool thing about being a game developer, gender and age don't matter, education, uh, all that matters is that you're detail oriented, you're hardworking, you're able to dive into things and learn and work in a team, collaborate. And I think that if you have these good qualities, you can work and you can do it. Yeah, and again, I just want to emphasize you can do it from square zero. You don't need coding experience to do all of that. I wanted to start with my story so you can see how I went from like this game to this game, and you can see how they kind of looked not the best, and then I got onto really solid teams, and then I got to work on Pokemon Go and a virtual reality game. It's a really beautiful industry. And of course, everyone loves a little bit of money, and Unity developers do make a decent salary. And I will say that it depends on company to company. There's also, you've probably heard about the hours of game developers. Like sometimes there is a little bit of crunch, but I don't know. I think people love making games, and that's why they work so hard at making them. And luckily, they're paid for their efforts. Yeah, and this is just a rehashing of the previous slide, and I think
Good
that's
average salary. I mean, I would say
oh
$153,000
yeah, definitely.
a year, like you don't, some of the people who finished universities, they wouldn't get the start like that, so
Yeah,
I would say even like if someone wants to become a surgeon, they have to spend at least like 90 years studying, and then not fact that that would be their start point. And here our program is only like 16 weeks, and you can have a decent start, so that's impressive. I'm like very impressed about the numbers you showed. It just blows my mind. 400 billion industry. Wow, that's like it's incredible. And I mean, I see your passion, and it's so important that someone would be teaching you with a passion. So I just like, I couldn't imagine a better expert and instructor for this program than you, Daniel. So thank
uh,
you so much for like
thank you.
just going deep into all those, successful stories you had, and how you just, as a puzzle, you just made it all come together, piece by piece. I love it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I think
Yeah. Also,
the
like
conclusion.
I wanted to mention, like I'll just share a few of the slides and I'll give
Yeah,
it
go
back
for
to you because we got like a lot of questions as well. But even your 15-year-old teenager could start in this industry, and so many parents I challenged, with their teenagers, not knowing what to do, where to get started. Here you go. That's amazing start. I mean, wouldn't you agree, Daniel? Isn't that
Yeah.
amazing?
I think
career?
there's actually a lot of opportunities to I know that a lot of people play Roblox and learning Unity, you can learn how to code inside Roblox. They are two completely different engines, but a lot of the same ideas are used in both.
Yeah, and adults as well. So I just don't want to limit it just by 15-year-old, but it's like it's amazing. I mean, maybe you can do it together, and
Yeah.
bring some unity into your parental skill set, So I think that's a great opportunity. And we also help you with your resume building, with career coaching, with job search strategies, pretty much everything you need to have a successful start, step by step. And you couldn't dream about better instructor than Daniel, so that's pretty incredible. Let's see our next slide, and I just will mention that we're planning to start the course the April 7th or the end of March. So you have time to go through all this week where Daniel would dive deeper into all the sides of this gaming industry. But we're planning to start in April, and you will have practical projects, internship, and correct me if I'm wrong, but by the end of the course, they will be able to develop a game, right, Daniel?
Yes. Yes.
I love that. So you're not just going to be learning about the industry, but your outcome would be a game which you could already put in your experience, right? So when you're applying for job, you're going through interview and we teach you step by step how you would already have completed projects and you could say, I developed that. And I mean, I think it's fascinating, brilliant that people could just, could have something to put in their resume and they put into practice what they're learning. And because our group of students are small, we don't put 100 students like for just a lecture. It's like about 15 to 20 students, and each of them will have your personal attention, right, Daniel? Can you
Yeah,
handle 50 people in a room?
of course. Yeah,
and and
100%. Yeah. Also,
yeah, and you
I
just
see
guys. Go
Tim
ahead.
posted a question about if we're making a game this week, and no, over the course you'll make a game. We're actually planning to have you make two games, so you have two separate games on your resume. Um,
That's even better.
yeah,
Wow, that sounds amazing. So you guys just gonna be creating games and playing them, right?
yeah,
That sounds pretty awesome.
it's really fun to play a game that you've built.
That's great. I'll let you go from here if you want to.
Yeah, so I think I already mentioned a lot of this that like you learn the basics of C# programming, so you'll learn how to code. You'll get sort of the foundation in Unity, and you'll also get two projects ready for your portfolio. I'm going to sort of give you guys tips and show you the tools that I use to add my own individuality, so you know where you could get like assets from, how to animate them, and things like that, so that you really know excuse me, so that it's not everyone developing the same game. You have a baseline, and with that baseline, you can then use it to do whatever you want. So, for example, if it's a tower defense game, then everyone can add their own skin to the tower defense game. You can also explore on your own on adding certain mechanics and whatnot. Um,
There's a great question, Daniel. Let's say, so people want to know what game will they be able to make as a beginners? So
yes.
two games in portfolio is amazing, but someone is asking at the end of the course, is it enough, or do we need more to find the job? Like, would two games be enough for them to get the job?
Yeah, I think in general I would stress quality over quantity. I do think at least two is a good foundation, but I think like for example, the reason why I think I only had two games in my portfolio and I was able to get a job with that is because my second game, like my first game was a small little thing you play on your phone and it was an arcade game, you play it in 5 minutes. But the second game was so expansive. Like it's an online game with multiplayer. And actually, in the interview, I said, "Okay, log into my website, and you can play against me right now." And so
Wow.
I was live demoing like, yeah. And so you run around, you click with your mouse, you do this, you do that. These are how the buttons work. That be careful, as grenade launchers about to show up, and it's like you're able to walk them through that, and I think that the more polished, the better. And boom, I think that makes 5 mentions of polish as promised. But
Wow,
yeah,
that's a great answer. Thank you.
yeah, just to get back to what kind of game, we're definitely going to be making an RPG adventure. I think RPG games are such a staple in the industry and also such a great entry point. So you'll get to learn all of the basics, but then you'll also get a lot of neat little tidbits about how to apply that. And I think it's a great starting core that you can expand into whatever you want it to be. Yeah, and of course you might know this in case you don't, that all the classes are live. It's not nothing's recorded. There's back and forth interaction. You can ask questions. I'll do my best to respond. I hope I did a good
Best
job
instructor.
of hitting everything in chat. And yeah, I try my best to bring a real experience to you from the game industry. I'm not going to sugarcoat things and say that like, oh yeah, it's all kittens and rainbows. Like sure, sometimes you pull a late weekend, sometimes you're working like a long week, and sometimes you have a really annoying bug that lowers the frame rate of your game. But I'm still here and I love my job, so I keep at it. And I feel like a lot of these slides are rehashing what we
It's just an overview, and but like I like the results. It's that they will
yeah,
have the skill set. So,
yeah.
and as you mentioned, they will develop 2 games, and I mean, I think it's priceless to be able to put into practice the skills which you're learning as you go. And so it's not a waste of time. I mean, in such a short period, you don't just learn the industry, but you put it into practice. And I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
And so if you will have more questions about the full curriculum, I think in few slides, I'll show you the form which you can fill out. And since you've stayed with us till the end, we did prepare a special offer, as I mentioned before. So it's a 16-week course. And we're starting, I think we mentioned that it's going to be April 7th. We might start earlier in another group. But the payment and your investment is $3,999. It's one payment. If you need a payment plan, you can request it. And on the next slide, I think I have a QR code. No, maybe later, but yeah, I
yeah.
think it's the next.
This is a bit about the
Let's do this
curriculum.
quickly, and then I would love to show them the QR code where they can request the full curriculum. But
Yeah,
we'll kind of
definitely.
like we'll mention it. Let's mention it. Mhm.
And so the curriculum's still in flux. There's a bit of time before the course actually starts, but like we're definitely going to hit the key points that I mentioned. Like, you'll touch on animation, creating a platformer, making your individual game, like diving into all of these bits and pieces of Unity development, learning, getting better familiarity with the engine, and then you'll create your own epic RPG game. And
Yeah, and those are just average question. Everybody wants to know how many times a week are the classes? It's 3 times a week. The course team is going to be 16 weeks, about an hour. If it doesn't work out with your schedule, you can always rewatch it. And because the group is so small, you can ask Daniel questions and probably play a few games with him, right, Daniel?
yeah,
So
I love playing games.
yeah, and so, but if you like playing and plus they're paying you for that, that's even better, right?
Yeah.
So he can teach you how to do that. And so for everyone who is with us, we prepared a special offer. We're giving you extra 1,000 investment off to help you out to get started. And so average salary is over $100,000 a year. To be clear, it's 153 according to statistics. And so it's pretty incredible. So you can scan this QR code and you can put the deposit of $47, reserve your spot, and we'll help you to get started. So don't let anything to stop you from making the right decision and getting your dream career. I mean, look at Daniel. He's like the happiest instructor I ever seen, because he's got the passion, and it's brilliant, that you can find something you love, and that helps you to create the lifestyle you deserve. And Daniel as well is a great example. So he doesn't just play games, he runs the marathons, he watches the Broadway shows,
Yeah,
so
I,
he
I stay
lives.
busy.
Yeah, so but he lives the lifestyle he wants, and I want to encourage each of you to put effort and take action today, so you could live the lifestyle which you deserve, where you're making over 150K a year, and you have flexibility because you can work remotely in the gaming industry. Correct, Daniel?
Yeah, I actually work remotely. My game studio is entirely remote. We don't
That's
have a
awesome.
physical office. We're all over the US. And one guy moved to Portugal because he loved being remote and flexible.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, so I want to encourage you to scan this QR code, take action, join us, and tomorrow we will continue, and Daniel will share with us more insights. But so I want to encourage you to book your spot now, because, as I mentioned, our student groups, they're small. They're like no more than 15 people. So if you wanna get started with this group, Daniel is going to be starting in March, April. So you can take action now, and so you wouldn't have to wait for the other group, which we will be starting later. So because then earlier you get into this billion-dollar industry, then faster you will be in demand, and you'll start playing the games you created and monetizing it as well. As you were sharing, I remembered my friend who actually he loved playing games, and he still does. And so he was playing the games, and then he created this platform for the games, and now he worth over $150 million. So you never know, like, which door would open up while you're playing the games. So he pretty much shocked me. But in the end of the day, you have to get started. You have to take an action and be prepared when the opportunities are going to be there, and all the market predictions, they are already there, and they're only going to be more, and the industry is exploding. So I want to encourage you, do not miss this opportunity. Take action and join us. Join Daniel on this exciting adventure of learning gaming industry. And I want to take few questions. If you have any questions, post it in the chat so we can still answer them. And then we'll let you go. And I want to thank everyone who's been with us. And take action, scan the QR code, book your spot for $47 so you wouldn't miss the group Daniel will be starting. And let's play your favorite game you will create in the future, right, Daniel?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So someone said, best webinar I've been a part of ever. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It
I
means
want to say thank you to Daniel. Like he's passionate. You can see that he's passionate about what he's doing, and that's the best way to learn. So thank you for everyone who's been with us. Daniel's great. I totally agree. I'm so grateful that I got a chance to learn together with you tonight with our expert. Thank you so much, Daniel. I know it's about 10 p.m. in New York, so I hope
yeah.
you'll still have time to play your favorite game.
Oh yeah, yeah. Every night, every night.
So thank you everyone who's been with us. Take action today, and we'll see you tomorrow at the same time. Put it in your calendar. Do not be late. Put few alarms, and let's continue tomorrow. Thank you for being with us again.
Awesome. Thank you,
Thanks.
everyone.
And thanks, Daniel. So we'll see you tomorrow again.
Yeah, see you tomorrow.
Thanks. And do you want to stop the recording?
Yes. Where?
Mhm.
Ah, I see.